Welcome to another ABC Grab-and-Go on-demand webcast. In this webcast, we're going to cover dismounting of the electromagnetic clutch and installing an alternator support bracket for the Cummins engine. Alright, so we're going to go over the electromagnetic clutch assembly, which is basically made up of two sub-assemblies. You have the coil, which is mounted directly on the compressor body, and the clutch, which is mounted to the bearing hub. The most common cause of clutch failure is excessive heat. Now, excessive heat can be generated by frequently cycling of the clutch due to abnormal system pressures or tripping the high and low pressure switches, or by damaged control elements, by poor contacts in the electrical wiring or anything like that. Excessive heat can also be generated by leaving the coil engaged while the engine is not running, or no compressor drive belts are installed. Under normal operation, the coil is cooled by the pulley rotation. So every time that pulley is actually turning, that's what's actually cooling your electromagnetic clutch. So here in this slide, we just have the basic layout for your clutch assembly. Number 1 being the pulley. Number 2 is the bearing that the pulley sits on. 3 is the key, and this is what we would use to center that pulley or make sure it's installed correctly. 4 is the lock ring. 5 is your center bolt. And 6 being your electromagnetic clutch. So in this part of the presentation, we're going to go over the mounting and dismounting of the LANG KK73 electromagnetic clutch on your air conditioning compressor. And we'll also go over to mount the alternator support. So to get started, you're going to go ahead and unscrew that center bolt, that M10 bolt that's in the center of the pulley, from the compressor. Alright, before we get to the next step of removing the pulley, you're going to need an M16 bolt. The M16 bolt must have the end rounded so it doesn't damage the crank, shown in the picture here to the right. Instead of getting an M16 bolt and rounding the ends, you can also use an adaptive M16 bolt that can be ordered through ABC, which the part number is 11359579. Alright, step 2. Place a M16 by 2 by 50 bolt in the center hold. This is the same bolt we talked in the previous slide. Remember, the ends need to be rounded or you ordered the correct bolt for this job. By screwing the bolt, the pulley will be dismounted from the compressor and the crankshaft. So basically what you're doing when you're screwing this bolt in, you're actually separating the pulley from the crankshaft. It should pull away. Alright, now that you've separated the pulley from the system, you're going to go ahead and unscrew the 4 M8 bolts and dismount the electromagnet. Alright, step 4. We're going to go ahead and dismount the support of the leak drain hose by unscrewing the M10 bolt there to the right.
Okay, so now we have the pulley off, the electromagnet clutch, and we also have the mount for the drain hose taken off. So the next thing we'd go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and mount the support for the alternator. And when you're going to mount that on, you're going to go ahead and use your 3 10M bolts, and you're going to torque them to about 42 Newton meters, or about 30 foot-pounds. Alright, now that we have that bracket mounted, we're going to go ahead and reinstall the mount for that drain hose. And when you put that on, you're going to put it onto the back of that plate, as you can see in the picture. Okay, now that we have the bracket and everything installed, we're going to go ahead and put the electromagnet back on. We're going to go ahead and mount that with your 4 M8 bolts, and we're going to torque those to about right at 25 Newton meters, or about 18 foot-pounds. Now, when you're installing this, you want to make sure your electric connection is pointing down on the right-hand side.
Alright, our next step, we're going to dismount the lock ring of the pulley with a set of pliers. By dismounting the ring, the position of the clutch is easier. This is so I can actually see the keyway, so when I'm lining up the pulley, make sure it sits on the compressor correctly.
Alright, next, we're going to go ahead and check it and make sure the crankshaft still has grease in it. And mount the clutch on the crankshaft. If it doesn't have grease, you want to go ahead and apply some. Then you want to check that the key is mounted on the crankshaft and fits in the keyway of the clutch. Alright, your next step, go ahead and mount the lock ring back to the clutch and tighten it with a pair of pliers.
Step 11. remount the center bolt M12 and torque it down to 70 Newton meters. Check by turning the clutch to ensure there is no play. When installing this bolt, do not use any pneumatic tools to tighten the bolt. This concludes another ABC Grab-and-Go on-demand webcast. For questions regarding this webcast, please contact ABC's Technical Service Department at 877-427-7278. Listen for the prompts for Coach Technical Support and select the appropriate option. Support is available at this number 24/7.